welcome back to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 312, and today's topic is Music 2. We'll focus on favorite artist. So who is your favorite artist? Now, when it comes to artists, of course, when we ask someone who's your favorite artist, we can talk about an artist who draws or paints, but it can also mean an artist who does music. So, thus, musician is another way of putting it. So let's talk about your favorite musician, your favorite artist. Who is your favorite artist or musician then? Gosh, it's been a long time since I really sat down to enjoy some good music. I would have to say my favorite singer has always been Sting. He's always been one of my favorites. But I would have to say, although I wasn't a huge fan of Michael Jackson, yes, he is just a wonderful artist. So he could be your favorite artist, right? Well, think about your favorite artist as we begin our first segment. It's time for Actual Talk. Here we go.
So someone asked me the other day who my favorite musician was.
Okay.
It's a pretty difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those, you kind of assimilate it to poetry. What makes perfect poetry?
Right.
What makes a perfect musician? Who's the best? It's one of those debates that goes on and on and on. You look at live performance, you look at music videos, you look at choreography. Something actually with regards to Koreans, choreography and music videos, they get that really down pat.
Right.
But I think as a whole package, there's only one answer to that question anyway, isn't there?
Who is it?
Michael Jackson, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, he's like, everything that he did perfectly well.
Right.
Even from a very young age, when the Jackson 5,
Yeah.
the dad was instrumental in getting them all to be perfect as a unit.
They're perfectionists, each one of them. And Michael Jackson even more so.
Yeah.
And I think, he revolutionized performance. I don't think there's a single artist today that has not been influenced by Michael Jackson in some way.
Yeah, amazingly, from dance to the musical performance itself. I mean, from that aspect, I know you find it difficult, but who is it that you enjoy listening to?
Oh, it's hard. I really can't even choose because there's so many different styles of music. There's so many different genres that I enjoy. It's really hard. I think Beyonce's doing really amazing things these days. I also like that has a baby and she's still pursuing her career and still being awesome. But also really valuing that time with her daughter.
Yeah.
From what she portrays to the media, who really knows what's happening.
Yeah,
but
I suppose so.
She's pretty amazing performance and vocally.
Really good.
Welcome back, everyone. How did you like today's actual talk conversation between Mary and Martin? So they were talking about their favorite artists. It sounded like Mary was having some trouble thinking about or answering Martin's question as to who her favorite artist is. But towards the end of the conversation, she did then mention that she thinks that Beyonce is an amazing artist, right? Not only an artist, but also an amazing mother. Now, what did Martin say? He has brought up Michael Jackson, so let's together check out what they mentioned in the actual talk conversation. Okay, here we go. Now, Mary says, someone asked me the other day who my favorite musician was. So here we go. Favorite musician is also an artist. We're talking about a person who does music, okay? It's a pretty difficult question to answer. Now, when you're talking about a question that was asked, and if you want to explain that, it's not easy to answer just like that. If you need time to think in order to answer a certain question, you can always say, that's a difficult question, or it's a pretty difficult question to answer, all right? And then give yourself some time to think. Slowly and gradually answer the question. So you can really make use of this sentence, okay? it's a difficult question, or it's a pretty difficult question to answer. All right, here we go. Now, Martin says, yeah, I think so. You can kind of assimilate it to poetry. Okay, the sentence goes on, but let's take it up to here. He says, you can kind of assimilate it to poetry. Assimilate something, okay? If it's, well, assimilate into is usually used as well. If something is assimilated into, you're saying that it is absorbed into something. So it can also mean to compare, to adjust, to mentally absorb. So basically, if you think of compare, he's saying you can kind of compare it to poetry. You can kind of assimilate it to poetry. When you're usually comparing something or absorbing something mentally, assimilate is usually combined with to or with. Okay, so keep that in mind. In this case, it means that it's similar to poetry. You can kind of assimilate it to poetry. What makes perfect poetry? What makes a perfect musician? Who is the best? Okay, so these are some questions you can ask yourself. And then he says, it's one of those debates that goes on and on and on. Here we go. Here's our first pattern for today. To go on. To go on means what? It means to continue, okay? Or to keep doing something without stopping. So he's basically saying it's a question, okay? It's a question that's asked very often. It's one of those debates. Something that people argue about, something that people express their opinions about that goes on and on and on, okay? That just does not stop. Okay, we'll practice go on later on in today's actual expressions. Moving on, he says, you look at live performance, okay? You look at music videos. You look at choreography. But I think of it as a whole package, okay? There's only one answer to that question anyway, isn't there? He says. So there's only one answer to that question. So what was the question? Your favorite musician. Who is your favorite musician? Of course, he's saying, well, you can think about live performance and think, who's really good? You can think about music videos and think, who is my favorite musician? What was his or her music video like? You can also think about choreography. Whose choreography was the best? But he's saying people may think of these things separately, but he says, I think of it as a whole package. Just one complete package. And then he says, there's only one answer to that question, isn't it? Or isn't there? Now, Mary says, okay, who is it? And here we go. Martin says, Michael Jackson, surely. Yeah, totally. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't that occur to me? Why didn't I think of Michael Jackson is what Mary is saying. So here, what is Martin saying? He's mentioned Michael Jackson surely, meaning for sure. Okay, without a doubt, it's Michael Jackson. You look at his live performances. You look at his dance choreography. You look at his music videos and think of it as one big package equals Michael Jackson, right? Nobody beats Michael Jackson, he's saying. And then he says, everything that he did perfectly well. Okay, everything he did was perfect. Even from a very young age with the Jackson 5. That's right. Now, he did perform with the Jackson 5, or started to perform when he was very little, when he was very young. The dad was instrumental in getting them all to be perfect as a unit. So here we have a pattern, and here we have a vocab word. We're talking about Michael Jackson's father, okay? The dad. Michael Jackson's father was instrumental in getting them all to be perfect as a unit. A unit is a complete group, something complete or a group of people. So what does to be instrumental mean? His father was instrumental. His dad was instrumental. Okay, now if we're talking about music, in music, if you say or talk about instrumentals, you're talking about music that is written and that is performed only with instruments, not with the voice, not with the human voice. So there is no singing included, it's just musical instruments. That is an instrumental, but here it's used differently. If you say that something or somebody was instrumental in doing something, you're saying that he or she or it played a very important role, a very big role in doing something. So in this case, we're saying that Michael Jackson's father, the dad, was instrumental. He played a very important role in getting them all to be perfect as a group. Okay? So his father did a wonderful job. They're perfectionists, each one of them, and Michael Jackson even more so. So Michael Jackson was the biggest perfectionist, but what is a perfectionist? Just look at the word perfection, perfect, okay? A person that is described as a perfectionist is somebody that needs everything to be perfect, okay? No flaw, no mistakes are allowed. If you expect everything to be perfect, every single thing, you can call yourself a perfectionist. Usually, perfectionists pay extra careful attention to the smallest details. Okay, they will not accept any flaws or mistakes. So he's saying that the Jackson 5, okay, the whole family, the father, they were perfectionists, each one of them, and Michael Jackson even more so. I think he revolutionized performance. Okay, now revolutionize means to cause a very big change to something. So simply put, we're saying that he changed everything greatly, performance-wise. Okay, he revolutionized performance. I don't think there is a single artist today, I don't think there is one artist today that has not been influenced by Michael Jackson in some way. Okay, I think that's true. I think almost all artists, maybe not all, but it's true what Mary's saying. I don't think there is a single artist today. She's exaggerating a little bit, but she's saying not a single artist has not been influenced by Michael Jackson in some way. Yeah, amazingly, from dance to the musical performance itself, okay? Remember we talked about how he revolutionized performance. From that aspect, who is it that you enjoy listening to? Okay, now he throws the question to Mary, and Mary says, oh, it's hard, once again. That's difficult to answer. I really can't even choose. I can't choose who my favorite artist is. Why? Because there are so many different styles of music. That's right. There are so many genres that I enjoy. So she's saying since there are so many music styles, music genres, it's hard for her to choose one favorite artist. But she says, I think Beyonce is doing really amazing. This is what Mary said, but to be correct, amazingly would be more correct grammatically. Okay, I think Beyonce is doing really amazing things these days, or amazingly these days. Moving on, she says, I also like that she has a baby. So, yes, she did give birth to a baby, so she's a mom. She has a baby and she is still pursuing her career. Okay, she's continuing with her career, but also really valuing that time with her daughter. If you value something, you consider it to be important, okay? You treasure something. So she is a mother, but she also has a music career that she is pursuing. So she tries to balance work and family, and she's doing a good job. And then she says, yes, from what she portrays to the media. Portray is what? Portray can mean to describe something, okay? Describe maybe graphically, okay, or to depict in words. It can also mean to show, make visible. So she is, yes, showing the media that she is a good mother and that she also is working hard to pursue her career. But she's pretty amazing, performance-wise and vocally. Okay, so she's really, really good with her performances and she's really good with her singing as well. And of course, Martin seems to agree. He says, yes, really good. Okay, so we talked about Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, the Jackson's father, of course, and Beyonce briefly towards the end of the conversation. Let's take a listen one more time.
So someone asked me the other day who my favorite musician was.
Okay.
It's a pretty difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those, like, you kind of assimilate it to poetry, what makes perfect poetry.
Right.
What makes a perfect musician. Who's the best. It's one of those debates that goes on and on and on. You look at live performance, you look at music videos, you look at choreography. Something actually with regards to Koreans, choreography and music videos, they get that really down pat.
Right.
But I think as a whole package, there's only one answer to that question anyway, isn't there?
Who is it?
Michael Jackson, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, he's like, everything that he did perfectly well.
Right.
Even from a very young age, when like, the Jackson 5,
Yeah.
their dad was instrumental in getting them all to be perfect as a unit.
They're perfectionists, each
Yeah.
one of them. And Michael Jackson even more so.
Yeah.
And I think, like, he revolutionized performance. I don't think there's a single artist today that has not been influenced by Michael Jackson in some way.
Yeah, amazingly, from dance to the musical performance itself. I mean, from that aspect, I know you find it difficult, but who is it that you enjoy listening to?
Oh, it's hard. I really can't even choose because there's so many different styles of music. There's so many different genres that I enjoy. It's really hard. I think Beyonce's doing really amazing things these days. I also like that has a baby and she's still pursuing her career and still being awesome. But also really valuing that time with her daughter.
Yeah.
From what she portrays to the media, who really knows what's happening.
Yeah, I
but
suppose so.
she's pretty amazing performance and vocally.
Really good.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for actual expressions. So let's first of all take a look at some vocabulary words and then move on to the patterns to practice together. Okay, as you see, we've got assimilate. Assimilate. Okay, let's take a look at the pronunciation. Stress goes right there on the second syllable, so it's assimilate. Assimilate. Usually it's assimilate into something or assimilate to or with something. Usually when you're talking about how something is absorbed into something or someone, you would say assimilate into. Also, you will hear assimilate to or assimilate with. And in those times, it usually means to compare. Okay? Say that some things are similar. So let's take a look at some synonyms. Liken, equate, relate. Okay? That's to compare. And there is a different meaning, as I said, assimilate into. It means to understand. Okay? Absorb. Let's take a look at units. Unit, stress goes right there, and it means whole, group, or even crew. We're talking about a unit of people, which means a group of people. Perfectionist. Here we go. Stress goes right there. Perfectionist. Perfectionist. Somebody, okay, that needs everything to be perfect. Flawless. Okay, some synonyms are purist. Nitpicker is an informal way of saying it. Idealist or stickler even. Revolutionize. Here we go. Revolutionize. One more time. Revolutionize. It means to transform or to change greatly. Okay, transform. Portray. Here we go. Portray. Portray. It means to represent, illustrate, even interpret. As I mentioned, interpret as in describing something graphically or even depicting something in words. You're representing something, showing something. Okay, let's move on. Go on and on. Go on means what? It means to continue, to keep doing something. If you want to stress it, you can say go on and on and on. Okay, here we go. He went on and on. He went on and on talking about nothing but himself. So in this case, we're saying he did not stop and he kept on talking about himself. He kept on talking without stopping. He went on and on talking about himself, or talking about nothing but himself. Moving on to our next pattern, we've got to be instrumental in doing something, okay? In doing something. So it can be a thing or a person. Okay, something or somebody could be instrumental, which means to play a very big or important role in doing something. We talked about Michael Jackson's father, right? My sister was instrumental in getting me a job. Okay, getting me a job. So we're saying my sister played a very important role in getting me a job. Okay, now do you understand? Now, my sister played a very big role, played a very important role in helping me get a job. That's what we're saying. So one more time together. My sister was instrumental in getting me a job. And that brings us to an end, everyone. That is all for today's actual expression.